Hi guys, and welcome to this next course in your Deeper Peace of Mind program. And this course is all about the subject of simplicity. Now, this is a topic that's always been very, very dear to my heart. So it was the very first, I was on a journey of exploring this whole idea and notion of simplicity when I first bumped into the principles, because in my journey, the thing that I had come up against was this feeling of overwhelm and stress and burnout. And it felt like gosh, really, there's got to be a simpler way of being in life than this. And at the time, before I understood the principles, I went about it in a very outside-in way. So I started cleaning out my cupboards and Marie Kondoing my closets and cutting back on my kids' schedules and all that good stuff. And it was great for about 10 minutes and then I was dissatisfied again. So as I was on that journey, that's when I thought I need a simpler career, I need a clearer direction in life. And that's when I stumbled across the principles in that original search. So this is something that I love to talk about. It's one of my favorite topics. And again, as usual, I've broken it into 4 different modules for you. But the thing that I guess what I wanted to talk about today with this one is on this theme of treading more lightly. Okay, so what I see is that as we are in this conversation, as we're exploring, get a deeper and deeper understanding of the spiritual nature of life, the oneness of life, the inside out nature of life, one of the natural fallouts of that, so on a personal level, so when we are operating from an outside-in perspective on life, and we are driven by thought because it's unquestioned and we've never considered that we don't have to believe what we think, then the inclinations we have are to do more, be more, have more, right? And that inclination to, all of which are very expensive, right? Require a lot of time, work, energy, money, and consumption. Right, so the effort to have more, right? If I could just have a nicer house, if I could have a nicer car, if I could have a nicer family, if I could have a nicer bank account, right? If I could just have more money, if I could have more clothes, if I could have more organization, if I could have a nicer place to live, I can have better holidays, then I'll be okay. And that encourages. That is supported by a high level of consumerism, right? So we've constantly got to be buying books because the answer is obviously outside of ourselves, right? We have to constantly be buying cars and holidays and traveling places, and we're constantly looking for this. It's like we have this hunger for stimulation to quieten the busy mind, right? So we need all this units of stimulation, George Pransky would call it, in order for our minds to be satisfied. And so we buy stuff all of the time, and we tread very heavily on this earth as a result of that misunderstanding. The quest to so that's having more, right? But doing more, I've got to do more, means that I have to go. If I don't understand the nature of love, for example, then I have to go buy my kids all the latest things, and I have to sign them up for all the classes, and I have to take them to all the places, and I have to act in a certain way so that I'm doing more, so that I feel better about myself as a mother. I'm doing more so that my kids will love me more. I'm doing more to get the feeling of love, right? And so again, comes with quite a heavy price to the planet, just in terms of the amount of petrol you use, if nothing else, right? And then that it's coupled with that having to be more, right? So if I have to be a better upgraded version of myself, right? It's common belief that I have to be a better version of myself. Then I have to buy more books. Then I have to spend my time reading and developing myself. Then I have to be watching videos, going to seminars, going to conferences, earning more money so that I can hire coaches to teach me more. We're on this endless hungry quest, this insatiable quest to be more, with an inside out understanding of not understanding how the world really works. And as our understanding grows, the natural byproduct of that I see is that we buy less, right? Because we need less. We do less travel and holidays and buying bigger houses and all the rest of it, because the need for it starts to fall away because we see it's not the source of well-being. The quest to be more starts to fall away when we start to see that we already are enough. We have everything that we're looking for. The more deeply we get to know that, the less important it looks that we have to do more, be more, have more. And so the natural repercussion of that is we get to tread more lightly, not only in our own lives, right, with a lightness and a lack of compelled driven behavior, but we get to we get all the benefits of simplicity that come from not having to look after and keep up with all the stuff, right? Because when you're buying nice cars and nice houses and nice holidays and all the rest of it, you've now got a million complicated projects that come out of every single one of those in terms of maintaining them, making them happen, making sure that everyone enjoys them, making sure that you upkeep them, making sure. So it creates a load of tasks in your world that you need to do. If you find yourself always wanting to be more, then you keep buying programs, and now you have to, it's not as simple as buying the program, you have to find the time to watch the program, and if it's a doing program, you have to implement the program. And it just takes away time from time you could be spending with your family, because you're in your office, in my case, like watching videos about how to have a better life. And it gets complicated because now I've got to juggle all my time to try and fit all this stuff in, right? This quest to do, be, and have more has a load of consequences in the world of form that are related to it. Now, I guess this module might be a little more behavioral and prescriptive than I tend to be, right? Well, it's not, because it's just an invitation to explore and see what you see for you about this. But in my world, it looks like the planet, I want to talk about it on a planetary level as well, but it looks like there can be no harm in us having an understanding that enables us to consume less, to stop, to jump off the treadmill. It's like we've been running on the treadmill our whole lives, and we just kind of get to step off to one side. And in the stepping off to one side, when we're not running about trying to get the kids to 15 classes because then they'll be amazing and then we'll feel like good parents and then our kids will be okay, juggled with having to do 25 personal development courses this week because if I don't, then I'm going to be a loser, plus all the exercise I need to fit in so that I can be skinnier so I can be happy, plus the 10 hours a day I need to be working, because if I'm not working enough, I don't have enough money and then I can't pay for my lovely house, right? Like the mental clutter, the amount of thinking, the noise in our heads, the noise in our lives that we experience, like as all of that starts to for me, what's happened is all of that starts to dissipate and starts to lighten. We find that there is an apparent more simpler outer looking world from our simpler perspective. But also we have more space to get touched by the richness of life. So we have space in our minds, and in that space there is the presence of mind, right? We start to see what's been laid out on a plate for us to fill our lives with love and beauty, just that's already there. Like we have relationships that can nurture us and nourish us and fill us up. We have beautiful nature and trees and sunshine, like just there for the taking. All of us can find a patch of green somewhere it's like Mother Nature's given us like the most beautiful thing in the world and put it in front of us, but we just don't, we are so busy rushing to work that we don't even see it. We walk right past it every day and we never see it. And our children, who you can just watch them and they're cute, right? You can get a kick out of that better than any holiday, right? Just watching your kids be cute. And all of that is available for the taking in a quieter mind. All of that is there to reach in and touch our hearts. And when our hearts get touched, that's the gold of life. That being touched, being filled by the presence of mind, like in that space. We're going to talk about the space. We're going to talk about what gets revealed to us in that space in future modules. But to me, that's what every human being is looking for. The feeling of having their heart touched, being impacted, being fulfilled, content, just touched by life. So minus all the things that we think we need in order to be happy, as those start to become less important, we find our lives filled with fewer activities, richer relationships, simpler pastimes, and being so completely filled up by those that we don't need to keep buying the stuff. We don't need to keep buying the courses. We don't need to keep doing the things. And as a result, we don't need to keep earning the money. And so it's like a virtuous circle, if you like, that just keeps unfolding for us as we start to see that the richest life is already here. It's already here. There's nowhere to go to get it. And so all the things that we've been starting to do to get it kind of start to fall off around the side. And to my mind, there's a bigger ripple effect. So not only are we as human beings consuming less stuff, right? But on a global level, right? That's can't fail to be good for the planet, right? And it seems to me that the mass consumerism that comes from having to do more, be more, have more, the huge industries around that, the huge budgets that are spent to encourage us to do more of that thing so that we can find happiness. Like, as we see through the fallacy of that, we become free of it, and the world has to shift and change and adapt to that. Like we've seen over 2020, like what's happened is the world has had to shift and change to adapt to a change in spending habits, a change in travel habits, a change. Like the world has had to change accordingly because people's behavior changed. They were no longer interested or able to do the things they did before, and so the world, big industry, powerful organizations and governments and politics had to shift and change the ways that they did in response to humans' change in behavior. And so to me, there's so much hope in that as well, from an environmental point of view, from a climate point of view, from a how we bring our kids up and what they think is important point of view, what we bring them up, the skills that we bring them up so that the jobs that they're able to do, all of that, the industries into which our politicians support, and all of that changes as we have a shift in consciousness and we become more easily pleased. That's what it is. We're easily pleased without having to buy all the things. And so the world has to change in response to that. But I also see that on a global level, like as the shifts in consciousness happen as a result of this understanding, then more kindness comes into the world, more peace, more love, more connection. And with that, fewer wars, fewer economic battles, right? Fewer political battles, less conflict. Not a case of so many people fighting and fighting and fighting for so few resources that look like they're dwindling in the face of population growth. Just more lovely feeling in the world creates, again, a different form of planet. And finally, I guess the thing that I want to say on this topic is that, when we look out of our eyes, when we feel like we need to do more, be more, and have more, we're living in a feeling of insecurity. We're living in a feeling of lack. And so when we look at our planet, it looks like our planet is struggling. Right? It looks like there's not enough land to go around. It looks like there's that the climate is crumbling and the planet isn't coping very well. It looks like the planet is struggling. It looks like we can see evidence of unrest and upset and conflict all around us. But that's us seeing our own insecurity in front of our own eyes. And so as we settle down, we look out through our eyes and the world looks simpler. It doesn't look so problematic and complicated and troubled. It just looks simpler. It looks like, certainly my experience over the last 12 months has been looking out of my eyes and seeing a beauty and a simplicity and the healthiness in the way that the planet is figuring itself out. That just, it leaves me in awe, leaves me a feeling of simple awe and simple happiness. Has been my real experience of this year, of 2020, has been an appreciation for simple things in life, because all the doing, being and having has pretty much been stripped away from us, right? So an appreciation for the value of love and connection and nature and sunshine and kittens. It sounds so cheesy and cliche, but like those simple things in life that are just there for the taking. Like, just with my busy mind, the way that everything was so complicated and busy and needed to be juggled all the time, like, we got kittens this summer and I'm able to just sit with my kittens and sit there for 10 minutes with a kitten on my lap, just enjoying stroking that kitten. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but that wasn't possible for me in a busy, speedy mind, in a busy, speeded up life that was a product of that busy, speedy mind. But sitting there and having that 10 minutes is like the richest experience you can have, and it's right there for the taking. And so my life over 2020, as my understanding has deepened and grown, has been full of those kitten in lap moments, right? Like more and more and more of those. And those make for a richer, more beautiful, simply happier life, in my experience. And so that knowing of those two things we always come back to. So how your experience is created. More importantly, in this case, seeing how it's not being created from any of those things that we do, be, or have. And getting touched by that richness of life, like feeling that oneness of life. That feeling of kitten on lap is the feeling of the oneness of life. Seeing the oneness of my experience being reflected back to me, that they're made of the same thing. That the experience of the one form in the formless element, the formless whatever it is behind life, like showing up in these 7.5 billion different forms, but that it's all one thing, that the busy mind, the quiet mind, the doing the stuff, the not doing stuff, all of it is made of mind. And so when I get connected to that, I have less resistance to what is, less trying to create scenarios other than the one that I have right now. And yeah, just being more touched by that feeling in life. So to me, this conversation and what we're exploring this month is, I guess, when we just get curious about the practical ramifications of seeing this understanding, of seeing it more deeply, and what's happened, and an opportunity to reflect for you guys, like how does your life look differently now in the form compared to when you first bumped into this conversation? Can you feel a loosening of attachment to doing more, being more, and having more? And if you get curious about it, you'll see it show up in ways that you probably hadn't appreciated. Like, I see that my like the income levels, the income that comes into my business is so much lower than it used to be in the old days, and I don't even really notice it because I'm no longer tracking it, and it doesn't seem to have made any difference. I notice that I get a kick out of having kittens, which I never would have time for. I'm spending time in the garden just appreciating the beauty of flowers, right? It's, instead of traveling the world and trying to get on holidays and working all hours God sends and trying to do all the things so that my kids would be happy and running around in the car and it's just all got simpler. When I look at my pastimes, how they've changed, when I look at how I spend my time, it's changed. When I look at how much more I enjoy every minute, like I can watch like a whole movie now and really enjoy it. I couldn't do that before because my mind was so busy, I couldn't concentrate. I can read books and really enjoy them because my mind isn't floating off every 2 minutes. It's just we just bring more presence, I guess, into life when our minds are less cluttered. And when we are present, we always enjoy everything more. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the Facebook group, like what this whole topic of simplicity means to you, what you're seeing in your own lives as a result of your understanding. And for me, it's just as if I needed one, a more incentive to just be open to seeing what more there is that life wants to show me about this. Like, I love this learning curve that we're on. I love appreciating just how much more beautiful and amazing and simple life gets with every shift in understanding. And I was talking to somebody today about it, just so grateful to be on this learning curve. So appreciative of what it's already brought me, and a knowing that that learning curve is never ending. So simple, so beautiful. Anyway, I'll be back with you again next week.